So very often people come to me and they ask, I don't know what the next step is, or I don't know where I want my career to go. I don't have any sense of direction. I feel lost. How do you solve that problem? Well, today I'm going to share with you a very simple, high-level, three-step process that's going to get you to that answer. However, there's a big caveat. You have to do these steps in the right order. Most of the time, people start doing them out of order, and that screws up everything. So we're going to start off with the endpoint. Very often people try to say, well, what's the next step? What's the next thing I'm going to do? But if you don't know where you're going eventually, then the next step you're taking is basically random and it's not necessarily going to get you there. So the first thing is you want to know what your long-term goal is. And to get to your long-term goal, you have to activate the part of yourself that Walt Disney called the dreamer. That is, you have to think about all the things that are possible, and out of the whole menu of everything that exists out there, what's the life that you want, right? Now, it's really important here that you don't constrain yourself. Let yourself dream the impossible dream. Even if you don't think that it's possible, it may very well be. So at this point, you cannot shut yourself down. You cannot say, oh, well, that doesn't exist. Oh, I can't do that. Oh, this other thing. That is the worst thing you can do here. At this moment, the only thing you're doing is dreaming. The only thing that you're doing is either adding options or saying, hey, this option is great, or this option is better than that option. You are never removing anything. You are never shutting anything down. You are never saying, oh, I can't do that. You are never saying that's not possible. All of that has to be ignored right now. The time will come for us to do a feasibility check, but that day is not today. Right now, we are only focused on the dreaming, on the brainstorming, on the coming up with ideas and figuring out which one is the best. All we're looking at is moving towards a goal. We're never looking at moving away from something. We're never looking at, avoiding risk. We're never looking at what can or cannot be done. We're never looking about what's the problem with this. None of that matters right now, right? We're only looking at what's the ideal situation. And that's how we get to the target. Now we can edit it later, but the most important thing is to get the whole menu of what's available. You won't be able to see the menu if you jump in and you start shutting things down now and you start shutting down options, because it may very well be that some of the things you shut down are actually possible. And the only way you can know is if you try to plan it out. But if you shut it down now and you don't even consider it, you're never going to be able to try to plan it out. You're never going to know, and then you're going to be stuck in this little box of what your mind is saying, is possible, even if it's not. Right? Even if there are things that are possible that you've excluded. So right now you're in dreamer mode. You brainstorm, you find your solution, you pick the one that's the best. Now we shift over to planner mode. We actually plan out how to get there. So here, if something's completely out there, so if you're 50 years old and your plan is to be an NBA superstar, well, there's no path to get there. This is the point where we look at that possibility thing. This is the path where we say, oh, okay, well, this may not work, right? But we really have to give it a shot. We really have to try to plan it out. You can't, if you're shutting something down here in 10 seconds, then you haven't really thought about it, right? You want to think through, well, is that possible, right? If you're 50 years old and you want to be an NBA superstar, you can spend at least 30 seconds thinking about, hey, listen, is it even remotely possible that's happened? Has there ever been any NBA person who's been older than that, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? And, are you going to get to the conclusion that, hey, you're probably not going to get there? Maybe, but you got to give yourself a little bit of room to be a little bit unreasonable. Again, otherwise you're going to miss out on stuff. So go down the list, and as soon as you get something where there's a remotely reasonable plan, then great, right? If you want to go plan out some of the others, that's fine, but get 2 or 3 really good options where you put together some reasonable plans. And now, only at this point, does the critic get to come out. Only at this point do you go back and you say, okay, well, what could go wrong with this? What could go wrong with that? What could go wrong with this other thing? Now, you don't just, as soon as you find something that's wrong, just shut it down and say, oh, no, cross it off the list, right? You have to have a good discussion with yourself and say, okay, well, if this is wrong, how can we mitigate it? How can we work around it? How can we avoid that risk? How can we tweak it, right? And you have to work with yourself, right? Now, this is a method called the dreamer, the planner, and the critic. And it's something that Walt Disney used to make some of the most famous movies of all time, right? And build a media empire that's, one of the largest in the world. But what most people do when they do it wrong is the critic is way too loud and out of line. So when it's the dreamer's turn, the critic's supposed to be silent, but the critic will jump in and cut off the brainstorming. And when it's the planner's turn and they're working and they're trying to think it out, the critic will jump in and won't give them a fair shot to solve the plan. And then when it's the critic's turn, they'll instantly throw everything in the trash instead of suggesting ways to make it better. And so if you ever want to get clear on where your direction is, you have to be able to get the critic to sit down, be quiet, take their proper place, wait their turn, and have a rational, meaningful discussion with yourself instead of just trying to throw everything out, because that's destructive to you and that's going to keep you always lost. So if you can tame your inner critic, then you can find your way. Hey everyone, I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you want to learn more about career planning, getting out of a burnout job, or creating a career that truly fulfills you, then I've got a free comprehensive video laying out the process. All you need to do is go to the link below, www.oculusinstitute.com/workshop, and sign up to get access to the free presentation. See you on the other side.